Welcome, everybody, to another episode of On the Range Podcast with War HOGG Tactical and Kelley Defense. I am Mark Kelley, and as always, I am here with my friend, Rick Hogg from War HOGG Tactical. How's it going, Rick?
Mark, it's going great, buddy. Just want to thank the viewers, listeners out there for giving us your most precious commodity. And don't forget, moving us into the top 2.5% of all podcasts globally. We couldn't do that we couldn't do that without you. Just want to thank you guys for that. Appreciate it. Do us all a favor if you would. Press that like button, subscribe button, give us a rating, give us a review. I don't care if it's a thumbs up emoji. Give us something just to help beat that algorithm and help us continue to grow. And oh, by the way, if you like what you're hearing, pass it on to your friends and let them know how great the show is and all the diversity we have between On the Range podcast. We've got Vantage Point, War HOGG Words of Wisdom, vlogs, and I'm sure we'll add something else on there just for giggles, because that's what we do.
Yeah. Wherever you are, thank you for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by KillCliff. Go to killcliff.com. Check out their Cult Club, which is a rewards program. Oh, yeah, we got the CBD up there, 25 milligrams of CBD with the Flaming Joe.
Flaming Joe.
One of my favorites. Don't forget to use the promo code OTR15. Save yourself a boatload of cash. Oh, and by the way, they support the Navy SEAL Foundation. Been doing it for at least a decade. Just a great organization. They support a lot of the stuff we're doing, and we're thankful and happy to have them on board. So anyway, we got a great guest today, Rick. Why don't you go ahead and bring it in?
Yeah, man, it's funny you mentioned the Navy SEAL Foundation. We have this, seeing how we're Army guys, it's kind of crazy. We got all these SEALs on there, but I'll introduce our next guest.
Yeah.
So yes, Mike Ritland, he is a Navy SEAL, or I should say was a Navy SEAL, or however you want to say that. He's also an author of 3 different books, entrepreneur, dog trainer, host of the Mike Drop podcast, which, oh, by the way, if you check out episode 75, I believe it is, you might see yours truly on there. Just an overall fantastic guy, great to have him on the show. So looking forward to this next episode.
Yeah, let's bring on Mike.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
So he's talking about driving around the country. So I got to ask Mike, what freaking hot rod were you cruising in, or did you have the, the kids in there and got, the 15-pack van with the car seats in there?
The Prius, yeah.
I was just in the truck that we drove around in. I was hauling my shit around, so nothing fancy or fun. But
okay,
I think it's a damn good road trip vehicle, but that's about it, So it's a good utility wagon.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to meet you, buddy. I guess in this day and age, this is meeting.
Yeah.
But appreciate you doing this, man.
Oh shit, it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Rick came on my show, which was a lot more difficult for him to fly all the way here, and this is no problem at all. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's kind of at least for us, it just makes things easy. But I got to say, Mike, you've got a killer setup there.
Oh yeah.
So we're not, obviously we're a couple different states away, so if we had a studio, it'd be nice to sit there and roll guest in and obviously do the face to face. But yeah, you got to smoke and set up, and good deal going on. Yeah, going on in Texas. But hey, just want to give the viewers, listeners, just a quick rundown. Most people know who you are. Just if you don't, we kind of hit the high points. Navy SEAL. Thank you for your service. You're an author of umpteen different books. You got 3 different books, right?
Yeah. I've got the 4th one is coming out November 16th. I'm not sure when this will air, but
okay,
that doesn't have shit to do with dogs or really the military at all. It's all kind of political stuff and just really a lot of things that I've taken from guests that I've had on Mic Drop and kind of looking at some of the issues that our country faces and then using the expertise of different guests that I've had on to form trying to have it be kind of an even keeled perspective politically.
Sure.
That addresses all that stuff. But
so have you had kind of your opinion changed by some of your guests on some things?
For sure I have.
Okay.
And I would say I've even had it change just, over time. I think most people do to a certain extent, but I've had, to me, I try to use data and remove, political affiliation, religious affiliation, and emotion. To me, if any one of those 3 things are influencing your perspective on something, it's generally biased to the point where it's hard to, to have an opinion that's truly objective, because it just isn't, And so I try to use data, whether it's, issues that plague our country on a financial level or on a numbers basis, with the amount of people that it impacts or whatever, and just, basically look at, say, the top 10 or so issues that are the biggest problems that our country faces, and not so ironically, the media doesn't tend to focus on most of them, and so for me, it's like, well, if there's going to be a bait and switch, like, let's try to bring the conversation back to a little more front sight focus on the things that are actually causing our country a pain in the dick. So that was kind of the goal with it. But
Nice.
Yeah.
And you said,
What's
what's
the
that? November 6th? No, sorry.
November 16th. It's available
16th.
for pre-order now,
Okay.
but only in the Kindle version, because I'm self-publishing it. Amazon doesn't let you pre-order the actual hard copy. But
Okay.
Gotcha. So November 16th, what's the title, and where can they get it right now? Is it all on Amazon?
yeah, it's on Amazon right now. I'll sell it in my store as well.
Nice.
And whether or not it gets picked up by any of the other major retailers, my guess is, based on the title, probably not. The title of it is called "Unfuck America,"
Mm.
and so
Come on, Mike.
yeah.
I mean, I get the principles, but like business side, it's like, come on, But
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it really isn't about business so much as it is just the message. And I get, that may turn people off, but
Mhm.
I went back and forth, and you get input from a lot of people, and I will say, I mean, there's another really popular book. I mean, one of the more popular books in the last few years, had the word "fuck" in the title,
Mhm.
and it bleeped out, where I think the U was an asterisk or something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, my thought process on it was, if you're the type of person that's going to be offended enough by the title,
Right.
Mhm.
the entire fucking book is going to piss you off.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're at least open enough to say, okay, well, this has my interest, let me crack this open, and you're at least open-minded enough to get past the title, then I think you'd be all right. But for me, the first 3 books all did well, and but not well enough for me to fucking retire on it. And this
Mhm.
book, I don't give a shit what it's called. The same thing is going to apply, especially self-publishing it. So to me, it's not so much about the money or good business sense. I keep that for all the other different things I have going. And so in this case, it really was just 100% about the message, and I think this country is royally fucked and needs to be unfucked. So that's why it's called that.
Yeah. So your other 3 were published by somebody else then?
Yeah, the first 2 are essentially the same. So it's the same book. It's just the first one is called Trident Canine Warriors. The second one is Navy SEAL Dogs, which is the young adult adaptation of that. So it's just basically
Okay.
a young adult writer reformats the book and breaks the chapters down and takes out, swearing, and then just tries to
Mhm.
make it a little more digestible and easier to read,
Okay.
and more of a young adult book. So it's the same. I mean, they have different ISBN numbers, but it's the same story. I mean, if you were to read it, you would say this seems awful similar, because it is.
Mhm.
The third one is called Team Dog, which is, really more of a training philosophy book. It's not a step-by-step manual. It's more of kind of a principled guide to understanding your dog owner, having a better relationship, and then ultimately training them to a higher level. And so the first 2 were under St. Martin's Press, which is Macmillan, and then the third one was under Penguin. So big publishers and big
Yeah.
book deals and whatever. But the problem with them is twofold. Is, number one, is that you don't really have, it's not even really, you don't have creative control over your content. They may say, I don't like this chapter, rewrite it, or this needs to go out, or they try to work with you, but they're very, very Switzerland fence writing. I don't
Mhm.
want to piss anybody off, type of thing. And so that, coupled with the cover art, the release date, the length of the book, I mean, really dictate a lot of what the book is about, or kind of how it's presented. And I get it. I mean, for most people, and myself included at that time, it's not like anybody knew who the fuck I was anyway. So it made sense to have a major publisher do all the heavy lifting and hire a ghostwriter and do all the promotion and line up media week and all that kind of stuff. Fast forward almost 10 years after the first one came out, and now there's enough of a following, I think, between social media and the podcast and whatever, that to me it just makes more sense to self-publish it, especially given the content of this book. But ironically, the idea actually came from Penguin, is that they approached me. They're like, hey, we've been following your podcast and really like a lot of the content and the discussions you're having. Would you consider doing a book with us, based on X, Y, and Z? And I was like, yeah, I'll think about it, and the more we got into it, the more they started kind of stipulating different things. But it made me think, okay, well, if you guys have paid enough attention to the show,
Right.
and are approaching me about doing a book, like, you're not going to do that for no fucking reason. So I'll just do it myself, and I'll do it how I want it, because anybody who wants to read the book because they're, a listener of the show, or a supporter of mine or whatever, is going to want me at face value, and not, a baptized, sterilized, nutless version of me, which is exactly what it would have been on a major publisher when it's content like that. I mean, because it's talking about racial issues, about abortion, about drugs, about border policies. I mean, all kinds of shit like that are pretty divisive. And while I say I don't, just like on my show, like I don't, the intent is not to piss people off. Like I'm not trying to, or have a goal of offending people or hurting their feelings, or what have you. I just don't take that into account if I do. I don't care if I do. I don't care if I don't. It's just that's not part of the equation as to what I talk about, or how I talk about it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Mike, right? First Amendment. I mean, we can talk about what we want. And, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. This day and age, that is being suppressed like nobody's business.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I mean, the bitch of it is that, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, ultimately you still have the ability to do it, but there's a huge caveat to that, in that if you say what is unpopular or goes against the grain of what I think a lot of kind of corporate and big picture society, politically correct staples or principles of what our society has become, if it goes against that, then you're canceled, censored, fired, deplatformed, you name it. And so, yeah, you can still say whatever the fuck you want, but the consequences are so incredibly severe if it's against what that kind of desired woke opinion, they want to be, then it's basically the same thing, and it's easy to say, okay, we'll start your own platform, but fuck, at this point, I mean, between Google and Instagram and Facebook and all of the mechanisms or platforms with which you would have to use to let people know about it, you'd be crushed immediately. And so it's kind of like starting from scratch, with no real way to get the word out there, that there is another option. So to me, it's pretty alarming, and it seems like it gets worse week by week. I mean, every few times a month, it seems like some other big thing comes out where it's just like, dude, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Yeah.
And it's pretty scary.
Well, if a operation like Parler could take, that's a perfect example. There's a lot of money, a lot of backing thrown at that, and look how easily that was dismantled. Yeah.
No, I know.
And people are shying away from it even now. I understand that they're back up on, but to be honest with you, I haven't jumped back on it. And that's a big operation. A lot of money. Of money.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's social media, but it's also more control, or almost, from a nefarious standpoint. I mean, like banking, it's like, oh, we'll shut your account down. Like if you're part of this group or that group, or you're deemed this label from, this part of our government deems you this, then we'll, freeze your fucking assets. I mean, it's the same shit that we've all, been witness to, or even a part of, with shutting down terrorist networks. I mean, it's a lot of the same mechanisms of, listening, eavesdropping, and freezing assets, hampering the ability to supply whatever, operation that you're trying to do. And that's the reality of it. I mean, if you need, vaccines and proof of X, Y, and Z to be able to go shopping or have a bank account or own a home or whatever. It's like, I mean, it's the same thing with the mechanism of guns, right? Is that this isn't something that obviously is happening, but I could see it going the same way. Is that instead of having SWAT teams go to people's houses to take their guns, it would be like, hey, we know you have X number of guns registered. If you don't turn them in, we're turning your water off, your power off, we're freezing all your fucking bank accounts, and we'll just wait outside your house for you to leave because you got to leave at some point. It's like,
Yeah.
That to me, like that's not even a fucking stretch at this point with what you see in just here recently of the Department of Justice going after parents that go to school board meetings that are pissed off. I mean, it's just like, where is it going to fucking stop?
Yeah, but Mike, here's the thing, man. I'm going to tell you this. It's easy to sit there and go, from a DOJ standpoint, hey, enforce X.
Yeah.
But when you get down to the municipalities, that's really where the rubber meets the road. And I'm here to tell you, there are some great law enforcement Americans that will sit there and go, yeah, DOJ, go pound sand. You can take your rules, your laws, and we're not going to infringe, and go take people's guns and all this other stuff, But yes, from the federal standpoint, man, it's the things that's going on is absolutely out of control. Yeah. And the steps are way over bounds.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with you. I think there are a lot of places that wouldn't do it. What scares me, though, is just the simple principled fact that the government is even trying to do that says a lot about where their head's at, And,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
To me, it's just between the indoctrination of schools and, trying to silence people for not wanting their kids to learn critical race theory or, transgender studies or whatever else shit that maybe as a family you think I'd rather not have my kids exposed to some of these ideologies, and now you're a bastard for having that opinion, and that's just to me that's step one to where Nazi Germany is. I mean, I've talked about this on a couple other shows where I remember I was always a big history buff and really into specifically World War II history. I mean, American history across the board and even world history, but especially World War II was just always really fascinating to me. But I always wondered, in high school I went to the Holocaust Museum in New York City, and I always remember thinking like it just didn't add up. It's like, how the fuck was this possible? Like how could a government have gotten their country to that point? And now I don't wonder that anymore. And I'm sure there's people, maybe listening that say that's ridiculous to compare, the height of Nazi Germany to what's going on now. And while a direct comparison to the height of Nazi Germany and what's happening right now, yes, may be a little ridiculous. What's happening right now is absolutely on par with the start of how Nazi Germany came into existence in the mid 1930s. When coming off of the Spanish flu and the fucking worldwide depression and all of these really, really easy ways to manipulate their society into turning on each other and basically viewing different groups of people and their own countrymen as not worthy of even being alive. And you're seeing that play out in the media right now when people are saying like, oh, if you're not vaccinated, like I don't care if you die and you shouldn't get health care and all this other shit. And it's just like, what the fuck is happening to our society where that's the mentality of it. And that's what's happening is you're seeing this advertent split of
the separation of classes. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And then these vaccine cards and all that other stuff as an attempt to do that.
Yeah. I mean, that to me should alarm everybody, whether you're for it or not, should fucking alarm you,
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then, that's why we're at where we're at. But
yeah, but Mike, I'm going to give you another one, man. You've got people that don't even understand. So you talk about just basic understanding of our government. So, for example, in the state of North Carolina, we have legislation that it's still illegal to wear face covering in public.
Yeah.
The governor does not supersede legislation. He could have easily went, to the legislation and said, hey, man, we have to change this law, but they didn't. That's the part that scares me more is we've got laws already on the books. We've got immigration laws. We've got all these different laws, but nobody wants to sit there and abide by them.
Yeah.
At the governmental level, it's like, come on, man.
Well, yeah, that and the fact that it's usually mayors and governors that are guilty of it, but you've got people that are in those positions that are basically just going into full blown dictator mode and not abiding by the method that they're supposed to when it comes to enacting new legislation or laws or mandates or whatever. They're just saying this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Why there are police chiefs and and sheriffs that are letting that happen is fucking beyond me.
Well, here's a crazier one, Mike. How come the legislation of North Carolina has not gone to the governor and said, hey, dude, where's our checks and balance?
Yeah.
Hey, we've got legislation. This is illegal. You cannot do it. We're more than willing, to change the law if that's even where they sit at, right? But the whole concept of checks and balance, man, that thing is out the window.
Oh, yeah, we had multiple examples where the legislation actually did try to limit governors' powers during an emergency, and then ultimately it goes to the governor. He vetoes it.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. There's several examples out there of that going on. And another shocking thing too is not only is it the DOJ that they're weaponizing, OSHA was weaponized in this last suggestion of the mandates. OSHA was the one that was going to have a lot of that go on. And like you said, turning off their power, they're going to go in there and say, well, you can't go in here. It's a hazard, environmental hazard that you are not, 80% or you're not following these mandates. Yeah. It's amazing.
No, yeah. There's all these little trick fuck loopholes that are being used to basically force you to do it. You see it. In as obscure places as you would think. Say the NBA as an example, seeing guys, it's like, hey, prominent NBA players that are saying, I don't want to get the vaccine. It's like, you don't have to get it, but then you don't have a fucking job.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how have we gotten to that point? Especially with the data behind it. That's a show in and of itself, but it's especially that. To me, it's like tetanus is a vaccine, right? Like it keeps you from dying from tetanus if you get infected with it. Whether or not you guys have your tetanus shots doesn't make any fucking difference as to whether or not I get it if I step on a rusty nail that has tetanus on it. It affects me and me only. And the fact that none of those kind of principles, medical principles, exist around this vaccine and the sickness itself, between the mortality rate being so astronomically low, coupled with the fact that it doesn't even prevent you from getting it or transmitting it, yet it's still being required at such a high level, is just like, I find myself looking around thinking like, am I on a fucking hidden camera show right now?
Yeah. Are we in a movie? Yeah.
It's like the Truman Show and I'm Truman. Like, what the fuck is going on around here? Like, how are there this many people that have their head buried that far up their fucking ass that don't pay attention or look around and think for themselves critically to say, wait a minute, this doesn't make any fucking sense, how are there that many people not doing it?
Well, I think it's easy as this, Mike, right? It's all verbiage. So let's think about it. You get a flu shot, right? It's a guess that'll, prevent this strain of influenza. Okay. But as soon as you start calling things vaccines, that's where I think this all went wrong. Yeah. If you want to call it the China virus shot, cool. I think people could have bought off on it better. But like when I go to get my smallpox vaccine, right? We shut down smallpox for the longest time. Granted, it started springing its head back up. But my point being, how can you call it a vaccine if you're still getting, sick? Yeah. So like the flu shot, I get it. It's a shot. I think it's all verbiage.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's a big part of it. And that's, without a doubt, a point of contention I have with it is, it's not only is it not a vaccine, it's not even a shot in the traditional flu shot sense. It's a rDNA modifier or whatever the fuck. Like the way that it transforms and actually moves through your body is very, very different. And to me, the bitch of it is, the CDC actually has the stat on their website. They don't advertise it as such, but if you read the numbers, it shows that 18 and under, normal, healthy 18 and under age group has a higher chance of being hospitalized and dying from the shot than they do the actual virus. You know, and yet, like the state of California, as an example, is mandating that to go to school you have to be fully vaccinated. It's just like, how the fuck is there not more people that are? And again, like, this isn't Alex Jones citing this statistic. This is on the fucking website of the CDC, which, you know, half the country has deemed, you know, Jesus Christ reincarnated when it comes to medical advice, which they have a pretty piss poor track record going back from their inception of fucking things up on a regular basis. You know, but I just don't understand it. I mean, it makes me scared for my kids and for subsequent generations of this country, between, you know, just the blasphemy of motherfucking our country at every turn, coupled with, you know, just stripping rights and freedoms and civil liberties away one shot at a time. I fear for what this country is going to be like 25, 30 years from now.
You know, speaking of California in this recall election, and I was shocked. It was a freaking landslide to keep Gavin Newsom. It's easy for, you know, Rick and I say, man, we feel bad for those guys over there in California, but you know what, man? I mean, that shows that that's what they want. I don't understand it.
So here's the hard part for me, and I try not to be too fucking tinfoil hat or conspiracy theorist about it, but I mean, it's starting to feel like elections don't really fucking matter. You know, I have a real hard time believing that Joe Biden got 10 million more votes than Obama, and got the most votes of any American president in history by a lot.
Yeah.
That's hard to wrap my fucking mind around, especially given, you know, if you look at the Democratic field being, you know, him and Kamala are the, you know, two of the least popular candidates of the entire field, yet they somehow end up with the nomination. You look at any of you know, the rallies or you know, the entire lead up of the actual campaign for the presidency was just abysmal. I mean, he was in his fucking basement 90% of the time. When he did show up, 5 people were there fucking golf clapping for him. You know, and then he just cleans house, you know, in the middle of the night. And again, like, you know, I don't know what happened, what didn't happen, but it just, for me, like, it's one of those, if it, you know, doesn't walk or smell like a duck, sound like a duck, whatever, that, you know, it's pretty hard to buy that. And same thing with California. It's like, I have a real hard time believing that, you know, that twice as many people said, yeah, that's our guy,
right,
than didn't. Like, at this point, again, it's like, how can there possibly be that many people that are that fucked up? Like, I just don't buy it, you know?
Yeah. Even scarier if it's true, though, if you think about it.
I mean, to me, like, that's the beginning of the end. I mean, if elections now don't matter, which I'm really starting to wonder if they do, then yeah, like, I mean, it's just a matter of time before it's like the fucking government and President Snow from the Hunger Games. Like, I mean, it's honestly, it's that fucked up. I
mean, Kamala Harris was absolutely abysmal when she was running for president and was the first person thrown out of the process.
Yeah.
I mean, like, in a hurry. It was terrible. And now she's the vice president.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I mean, she's a nobody. I mean, like, what, like, you don't even fucking see her, you know?
No.
When you do, she laughs awkwardly, you know, and has no substance to her. I can't, you know, pinpoint a single fucking thing that she's actually gotten done. You know, I mean, Joe, while, you know, I agree with pretty much none of his fucking decisions, he's at least doing something. Granted, it seems like it's a contest to try to fuck the country up as bad as he can, as quickly as possible. But he's at least in front of a camera talking and making decisions and doing things. You know, whereas like, where the fuck is she at? You know,
oh God,
it's
she's observing the border, being the border czar. You know, she's getting all that under control, Mike. You know,
doing a bang up job, by the way. Yeah.
Call no less. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nuts.